What's up, Star Wars fans? We're the Hilsmaniacs, and today we're going to answer the question in the title of this video: was Episode 5 of the Book of Boba Fett really necessary? So if you haven't watched Episode 5 of the Book of Boba Fett, I really don't think you need to.
Well, here's some spoilers for it.
Spoiler alert. Din Djarin, aka the Mandalorian from the Mandalorian TV or Disney Plus series, is basically the main premise of
this whole episode was a Mandalorian episode.
And I get what they're doing. They're trying to set up for Mando Season 3, where he ends up going to look for Grogu and then coming back to help Boba Fett. Who knows, maybe he'll come back in this season of the Book of Boba Fett to help Boba Fett, but there's only like 2 episodes left, so I doubt he's coming back.
Well, unless they do it like he comes back, but then the start of the Mandalorian
is
season 3
him going,
shows the in-between of that. But,
But they had this whole episode where, you know, Din Djarin has the Darksaber, ends up finding the armorer who gave him his Beskar steel, gets challenged to a thing, and then loses his title as Mandalorian because he's removed his helmet.
Yeah, because they asked him, have you removed your helmet?
And then she said the only way to redeem him is to go jump in the water in the mines of Mandalore, which doesn't exist.
It got blown up.
That's a whole thing. So he's not even a Mandalorian anymore, so you can't even call him Mando.
See, I got excited at the beginning of this when it showed Mando, like he was in some place going after some bounty or whatever, looking for this guy or whatever to get some credits, because that's what he's doing now, basically.
Oh, he's a bounty
hunter. He finished his whole quest with Grogu, essentially, but he doesn't have a ship now, you know. So
now he does.
He's just doing things. And I was excited for that, and I'm like, all right, cool, it's going to cut to the title card and all that stuff, and then we'll pick up with Boba Fett. Nope, it didn't. The whole episode was
literally the only thing that connected him to the Book of Boba Fett was at the end when Fennec Shand came up and asked him basically to help Boba Fett.
So that's why we've decided to discuss whether or not we think this episode was even worth it. I don't think it was. I feel like it took away from the Book of Boba Fett.
Right.
Because the fact that they're calling it the Book of Boba Fett, and even the little description of it, if you look at the episode, it says an old friend returns or an old ally returns or something like that. So we assume like it's gonna go the whole episode with Boba Fett doing something,
and then at the end somebody
like Mando would come in. Yeah. But they didn't do that. The whole episode was an episode of The Mandalorian, essentially. So like the confusing part about that for me is like if you're a Star Wars fan that's not watching the Book of Boba Fett, but you were a fan of The Mandalorian, and you don't watch this episode, like, are they going to play this episode again as, like, the start of Season 3 of The Mandalorian?
Because he even loses his Beskar spear in this, because he ends up making something for Grogu with the spear.
So it felt like a wasted episode for the Book of Boba Fett.
Right.
I mean, I was kind of excited because it was like, I'm like, wow, I'm watching an episode of The Mandalorian, but it kind of took me out of it because I'm like, are they just like abandoning the Book of Boba Fett? You know, it was kind of annoying to me.
I'm okay with what they were doing, trying to set up Season 3 of The Mandalorian. Yeah, I'm fine with that. But they should have made this the last episode of the Book of Boba Fett,
or don't even do any. Well,
no, I'm okay with this because then you end with Fennec asking him for help. And then Season 2 of the Book of Boba Fett can pick up... If
there is going to be a Season 2.
If there is a Season 2, could pick up here. And I'm sure there will be a Season 2, because they have a lot more to cover and 2 episodes to do it. And if they keep wasting them like this...
See, I feel like they almost...
I don't think that they should have did this now.
Yeah,
because there's going to be a lot... I feel that they're going to, you know, focus a lot on his journey to find Grogu again, and then come back to help Boba Fett in the Mandalorian series, and try to get his redemption on Mandalore and stuff like that. Right. So to set that up now is fine. I just don't think they should have did it in this episode. This episode should have focused. This and the next episode actually should have focused on.
I think there's two.
On Boba Fett. Yeah, there's 2 more. Yeah. So this one and then the next one should have focused on Boba Fett and did this episode as the last thing. That way it covers both. It covers Season 2 of The Mandalorian, or Season 3 of The Mandalorian, where he goes off on his journey, and it also covers season 2 of the Book of Boba Fett. Should they have one, he can come back and help Boba Fett.
See, what they should have done was how they did it. How they introduced Boba Fett back into Star Wars was they brought him in for a couple episodes of The Mandalorian. There wasn't a full episode just about Boba Fett and how he got back here. That's what this show was for. So the way they should have done this Mandalorian thing was just have him do the thing at the beginning or whatever, cut to Boba Fett doing some stuff, and then Fennec Shand goes to see Mando at the end, and then we're like, oh, Mando's back or whatever, and then then he can we can kind of see what he was doing before that point when you get into the first episode of Mandalorian Season 3. That's what they did for Boba Fett. They didn't explain, Boba didn't sit there and spend the whole episode getting to that point. Boba popped up, and then it's like, wait until you see this series to see that. So Mando should have been more of a cameo in this series because it's a separate series from his own.
They're building up something, but again, I think it's the wrong time to do it, because you just got everybody into this show. You got them wondering who's this big bad behind the curtain that
and we still don't really know
trying to basically get Boba Fett out of office, so to speak, as Daimo.
We didn't get any of those answers either, because this was just focusing on
and that's my point. If you would have did this in the next episode, and finished where you wanted to go with the Boba Fett stuff, then in the last episode have this as a fill-in for both of the next seasons of each show. That would have been fine. Then I wouldn't have been as disappointed with this. I think because of where they put this episode, I think is what makes it not work, because it's almost in the middle of
exactly.
He just got done tracking down the mayor of Tatooine, and he's going into this battle with the Pikes and all this other stuff, and he's trying to recruit people, which I understand, and that's where they're getting Mando from. But he had Chrysanthemum, he has the bikers, so you really didn't need Mando just yet.
And also that kind of, to me, makes Mando feel like it's like a side character all of a sudden. Like, he has his own series, but, if he's going to be helping Boba Fett, then that almost makes Boba Fett seem like the more important character. Which, in a way, he's not. Like, in the Mandalorian series, Boba Fett is the side character, but in this series, Mando
I mean, I guess that makes sense.
So it's kind of like, I don't know, I just feel like this episode, first of all, it kind of takes you away from, it makes us all forget what Boba's doing, because we're focused on what the Mandalorian
that's what I was trying to get at.
It also felt like an episode directed, the way this was directed compared to the episodes of the Book of Boba Fett and how they do the flashbacks and all that stuff. This felt like a way different show than what we've been seeing. And this, to me, also kind of seems like they were almost like, well, the Book of Boba Fett isn't working like we wanted it to or something, so let's throw in a random Mandalorian episode. Maybe they didn't plan to do this originally. I don't know. That's what this felt like to me. They were just it wasn't as successful as they thought it was going to be. Let's give the people what they still want, so let's throw in the Mandalorian.
Right.
It took away from the show for me, and it didn't need to be in a random episode in the Book of Boba Fett series. And they didn't even have Boba pop up. It would have been more impactful maybe if Boba shows up at the end, not Fennec Shand, to recruit him. Hey, I'm looking to hire some people to be my bodyguards and stuff. Okay, I need your help. You're an old friend of mine, whatever.
Especially because we've seen throughout the Book of Boba Fett that Boba wants to be out in the field doing this kind of stuff. So he doesn't want to stay in the palace. Right. So unless he's off somewhere else, which I'm sure we'll find out, why send Fennec to recruit him unless he thought that maybe Mando wouldn't talk with him? I don't know what Boba's reasoning would be for sending Fennec to talk to him rather than, unless Fennec went on her own, and in which case, why wouldn't she tell Boba Fett that Mando was here?
Unless he just sent her out to recruit whoever you can find.
But again, Boba's been wanting to do that. That was his whole thing, is that he's not afraid to go out and meet the people of Mos Espa and meet the people of Tatooine and try to work with different people. He wants to be out in the field doing that. and to send her to recruit Mando, that just kind of
doesn't make any sense. I know it focused way too much on Mando. Not that there's anything wrong with that, because I personally would think this was a really good episode of The Mandalorian.
Yeah, this would have been really good. I mean, it was a good episode. Don't get me wrong. It's the wrong time and the wrong show
series. Yeah, I feel like this would have been the first episode, and it might even still be the first episode of The Mandalorian.
They should have.
They're probably just giving us this now, and then they're like, "Well, let's show you this exact."
He'll have his own
again.
flashback. The tank in
no, they're just gonna show this exact episode again. It's kind of like what they did with like the was it the Clone Wars or Star Wars Rebels or whatever, where like the first few episodes of the series were the Star Wars Rebels movie, essentially. Like,
the Clone Wars.
Or something
the Clone Wars did that. They did something with Jabba the Hutt's son in the series after they had a movie where they rescued his son.
So that's kind of the same thing here. It's like, is that just going to be the first episode? I don't know. I just feel like that. Like I said, it feels like they gave up and they're like, okay, well, let's get the intrigue back into the show. Let's throw an episode with Mando in here or something.
I mean, and again, though, I see like they're trying to get us re-interested in the Mandalorian, because I think it comes out soon, doesn't it?
It'll probably be sometime this year, maybe. I have no idea.
I know it's sometime this year. I just don't know when. But Mando season 3, they're trying to build that hype back up, and they're like, oh, they'll give us Mandalorian with the Darksaber,
Yeah.
So we'll go off.
So we'll remember what happened to the Mandalorian.
We'll want to watch that. Yeah. But now it's like, well, let's forget about Boba Fett and just go and do that.
See, they should have just. And that again reiterates the point I made in like one of our earlier videos that we did. I said about how maybe this whole series, the Book of Boba Fett, was going to weave back into the Mandalorian. So it's almost like the whole series maybe wasn't even necessary. Like maybe they could have just had Boba Fett assisting Mando and all this other stuff rather than what he is doing. Not that the show is bad, it's just I don't know, compared to the Mandalorian is so much better.
Yeah,
it's like it was it's weird that it's directed. They're all directed by Jon Favreau, and it all exists in the same like little continuity thing that they got going on here. Like even the Ahsoka series and stuff. It just feels like they're miles apart in how the shows are directed and everything. And you can see that if you watch this episode compared to every other episode.
I mean, you could tell this was directed like an episode of The Mandalorian rather than the Book of Boba Fett.
It even feels different, and the dialogue and the lighting and all that stuff. It's just like it felt like an episode of The Mandalorian.
Well, and just hearing, Mando talk gives you that sense of like, oh, I'm watching The Mandalorian, you know. And then you forget that you're like, oh yeah, wait, this is the Book of Boba Fett.
I just thought it was funny because even at the beginning it pauses the Book of Boba Fett.
Yeah,
it says
and then
the
chapter
Mandalorian
5, and then it says the Mandalorian returns.
It had nothing to do with Boba Fett.
So overall, I think we're in agreement that this episode was very unnecessary.
You almost don't even need to see it.
Yeah, I mean, really, all it's doing is if you watch The Mandalorian, you need to watch this episode.
It's setting
if you
up
watch the Book of Boba Fett, you can skip this episode.
I do appreciate that they kept with the continuity of the Mandalorian and everything that happened. Like he has the Darksaber and the spear and all that stuff, and Grogu's gone and everything else. So there's our thoughts on episode 5 of the Book of Mando Fett. Let us know what you guys think down in the comment section. Did you think this episode was worth it to the overall story of the Book of Boba Fett? Are you in agreement with us that it wasn't important? Also, be sure to like this video and subscribe for more. We're going to continue to talk about the Book of Boba Fett, if it's not just the Mandalorian anymore. Yeah, I think there's two more episodes left, so we're going to cover topics from those episodes and things like that. So stick around for those if you're a Star Wars fan as well. Thank you for watching the video, everyone, and we will see you in the next one.
And may the Force be with you.
Subscribe.